All right, so are you ready?
We are rolling.
Okay. So welcome everybody. We'll get started with our last meeting for the year. Let me do a roll call first. Victoria Curtis.
Here.
Jinwoo Jang.
Here.
Joanne Pavlinak.
Here.
Laura Superior.
Here.
And Pam DeWitt is on her way. We'll be here shortly. Okay. Treasurer's report, Ronnie.
Yes, we're sitting at $2,568 pending a few remaining invoices from the July festival.
Okay. All right, approval of minutes. Did everybody get to see the minutes?
Yeah.
The only thing that I had was we had when we called the meeting to order, we had a moment of silence in honor of Leonard, and the minutes didn't pick up his last name. I know I said it, Leonard Sweet.
Okay.
So I'd like to make sure we mention Leonard Sweet. I didn't see anything else. Anyone else have anything in the minutes? Okay, looking for a motion.
A motion that we pass.
Okay, second.
Aye.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Okay. We'll go to our presentation from Supervisor Joya's office, right?
All right, starting with an update regarding CalFresh and SNAP. Under the government shutdown, there was a possibility that 107,000 Contra Costans would get CalFresh food benefits, or who received the CalFresh food benefits would lose their benefits for November. Consequently, the Board of Supervisors allocated around $21 million out of its emergency reserves to provide grocery debit cards to cover the November benefit payments if needed. And under various court decisions, the federal government ended up making the November payments. The county debit cards were not needed, thankfully. So our county social services is still assisting the residents to ensure that they receive their federal benefits, and has county funded debit cards available for those who may still need them. And so also free food boxes are being distributed at various countywide social service centers, and the closest one to, I believe, just here in East Richmond Heights is going to be on 1305 McDonald Avenue in Richmond. And jumping down to the Community Impact Fund Town Hall. Recent town hall discussions across West Contra Costa highlighted residents' strong commitment to improving local health, safety, and overall quality of life. Community members shared thoughtful input on priorities ranging from recreation and education to public health and workforce support. So our office would like to show their appreciation to everyone's engagement and dedication to shaping a stronger and more equitable West County. And a full summary of feedback on the District 1 Community Impact Fund is available on Supervisor Joya's main page, and I'll also make sure that that's listed on the newsletter that will be coming out this Friday.
Could you repeat the numbers? You said 107,000 and you're trying to get 20, we're gonna donate 21,000.
21 million.
21 million, okay, I was thinking the numbers are totally off.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That was like 20 cents each.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just a quick plug for our public advisory boards. And so they're a great way for folks that aren't on a part of this council that would like to give back to the community in a greater way. And so we have a few vacancies currently. The North Richmond Municipal Advisory Council, also this advisory council here, I believe it's the alternate 2 seat. And I can provide a full extensive list if there's anyone that would be, I don't see anybody here that doesn't already know this information, so I'll go ahead and
give up the mic.
That's what that concludes my report.
Okay, anyone have any questions about Supervisor Joya's office? Okay, thank you, Ronnie. Okay, Lieutenant Fitzgerald is here from the Sheriff's Department. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening. We're October, there was a total of 56 calls for service in the community, generating a total of 5 reports, one of which was auto burglary, another was a battery, and then a couple of vehicles that were towed. Some follow-up from.
How hard did they steal by chance? Because
I'm
they
sorry?
used to steal a lot of Toyotas.
Mhm.
Oh, no, Hondas.
Hondas.
Yeah, Hondas. Do you know what kind of car was stolen?
So it wasn't a stolen vehicle, it was just a
Oh, break-in.
burglary from the vehicle, so
Oh,
the
okay.
vehicle was locked, so
Got
they
it.
broke in and stole some
Okay.
property from it. Follow up from some previous meetings, I apologize I was not here last month. But there were some questions about copper wire theft in the neighborhood. We reached out to PG&E, they provided me some information as far as different reports that they have taken. And without people calling in to say, hey, this is a theft, we don't know about it. Sometimes when there's a disruption of service, their linemen come out and deal with the problem, and it's notated that way. So they gave me essentially a list of all the different thefts they've had in the area. There was only a couple that were actually reported to us. Talking to some of their people in their security division, there is going to be some technology that they plan on rolling out with new lines where they have like GPS technology in it and stuff like that. So that's all I had.
So they can track it when it disappears.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for Lieutenant Fitzgerald? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, thank you, Brian.
Have a good
I'll
night.
see you next year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the waiting room?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right, we will go next to Michelle. Contra Costa County Fire Protection District.
Hello, Chair. Hello, Board. Hello, everyone online and everyone in person. I have 4 updates for you. First, the Fire Code and WUI Code adoptions. The Fire Board held a public hearing on November 4th to consider adopting the California Fire Code and the new Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI Code, to be effective January 1st, 2026. The additional steps of obtaining city approvals and ratifications will take place in the weeks leading up to the start of the new year. So, fire officials are going to various city council meetings and presenting this information. The fire code for the unincorporated area falls within Confire's jurisdiction. So all of the outreach and all of that is available online and also through our fire chase report. Significant staff time was invested to work on this adoption process. I want you to know that, as well as working with other fire marshals regionally and locally, where our goal is to provide consistency in each agency's fire code and uniformity across the county. So, and we're sharing that obviously through the county coordinators on a regional stage as well. Next is our annual open house. I'm going to do a share screen really quick because we've got some fun stuff here to share. You'll see on your screen now a snapshot of the Confire Open House event. We hosted our annual open house on October 11th to kick off the Fire Prevention Week. This year we had a record attendance. We had 1,560 people. This is really, really impressive. And the event showcased not only our special equipment, but our teams provided attendees with fire safety and wildfire preparedness information. So huge success, not only for our on-duty, but also off-duty members. Finally is the mitigation projects. You'll see on your screen now the mapping or sample of our mapping of wildfire mitigation projects. The way that we map our fuels projects is progressing. You'll see here that it's very specific in the area that it covers. We're no longer providing polygons on a map. This objective, of course, is providing insurance companies with evidence, results-based accountability for our industry, but also for our jurisdiction, and understanding how this information incorporates with fuel breaks into their catastrophic models. So we are following the lead of CAL FIRE and their CalMapper data sets and mapping tools. And they have received this request from insurance companies. So again, we're just really following that state lead and regional lead to ensure that consistency is provided. This will benefit the residents of the county. This look inward on a local level will show them what work we are completing. The updated maps will now encompass the type of mitigation measures implemented, disposal methods employed for vegetation removal, and the frequency of treatment maintenance and its occurrences. So you'll see, the project information is entered into that small window. So when you click on, let's say, the purple outlined area, you'll be able to see the funding source, the treated acres, the treatment type, all of the things that everyone is looking for. This is an advancement in just fuel mitigation documentation overall. Finally, Zone 0 and home hardening regulations. No significant update at this point. The State Board of Forestry continues to hold committee meetings on this topic, but has not established a guideline or a deadline. We don't expect anything to be published by the December 31st deadline. We expect it into Q1, and this is just hearing from the regulatory committee on their possible push of that deadline. So more to come in January. I'll see you in the new year with more updates. There will be an extensive outreach to all communities, but really focusing first on that state responsibility area and then the local responsibility area in the very high fire hazard severity zone, because those are the first two to be hit by this regulation. So I'll keep you posted.
All right, Michelle.
Michelle.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle with the fire district? Anyone on Zoom? Okay,
Oh,
Michelle.
and nothing on the grant, but as soon as I hear, I'll let you know.
I know you will. All right.
Phase 1 or phase 2. We're holding. So
Awesome.
thank
All right.
you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody have a happy and healthy holiday season.
Thank you, you too.
Take care.
Okay, I don't see any Richmond Police or the Highway Patrol attending. So let's go to discussion items. I don't have any. Did anyone have any discussion items? Okay, subcommittee reports. Joanne, would like to.
I will be the one with the report and just in a moment. So the East Richmond Heights Land Use Subcommunity reviewed the proposal, which is number CDVR 24-01044. The address is 1518 Barth Avenue, San Pablo. Zip code is 946-806. So we as a land use subcommittee, we only review the look and the setback and other things, and doing a recommendation for the county. So with this application, and we granted a conditional approval with the following comments. We request the owner replace remove the trees with 2 new trees in the backyard, which each no smaller than 25 gallons. The selected tree spaces should have a canopy that provides partial privacy between the property and the neighboring homes located downhill. So during the meeting, there were the neighbors down here attended the meeting. They have a concern about the privacy. And we did the recommendation based on their concern. They also have a concern over some soil report or something, but which is not in our scope of review. So we told them that it should be reviewed by the county. So that is everything I can report. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that?
The address of 1518 is
I
could
Barth?
Barth, BARTH. Barth.
Oh, I don't know, yeah, I don't.
Okay. Nothing else on that topic? Okay.
Didn't we have one more, Jinwei? The front,
We only had that. We have another one. I think we.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I have the information on it. It was the one that wanted to enclose their front porch.
Yeah. Yeah. 1
I
second.
have the information. I could do that one if you don't happen to have the information in front of you.
No. I should have it. Sorry. Is the San Francisco way? No.
Yes, that's it. That's it, Francisco
Okay.
Way.
Yeah, sorry, I do have this. Sorry, I forgot that we have another one. So we also have another review happened. Is number CDC V25-01048 for 1927 San Francisco Way, Richmond, 94805. We also granted a conditional approval with follow comments that we require the front facade include a larger window and centered at the main entrance to better preserve the home's original character and architectural balance. So what happened to this application is they have an existing porch and the owner would like to close it and change the entrance from the front to the side. So we reviewed the look of the architecture and just did this recommendation, make sure that porch, the closed porch still feel like a entrance and did not destroy the original character.
Yeah, what was the numbers of the house again?
1927 San Francisco Way.
I think it's Francisco.
Francisco.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Francisco.
Yeah.
Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, thank you.
Chair,
Yes.
I should give a very short report because people are probably wondering, even the subcommittee, what's happening with the view ordinance. And when we were at the land use subcommittee at Supervisor Joya's office, Supervisor Joya did mention that he wanted to step back on the view ordinance and have a working meeting with the planning department and the subcommittee, which is Bara and Victoria and myself, and to look at it again with the potential idea to change some things in light of all of the new housing regulations that are coming forward to expedite permits, and also the possibility that CEQA is going to be on the next voting, an issue on the next voting time we have. So I think we're waiting. We are kind of stopped until Supervisor Joya sets up that meeting for the workshop, and people will be notified when that occurs.
What kind of time period do you think that is?
Well, we at the meeting, Ronnie and I had mentioned, will it happen before the holidays? And it's kind of tight. So I'm thinking it probably is not going to happen. I don't know, Ronnie, if you have any more information on that. I'm thinking it's probably not going to happen until after the holidays.
More than likely, yeah. Yeah, I don't foresee that meeting taking place until mid to late January. But I'll follow up with Supervisor Joy to get see if I can get a more solidified date.
And is this mostly because of the new development that's going in up here just below the Arlington?
No, it's not. It's statewide regulations that are really looking at the unhoused issue and affordability in housing and how long it takes to get something permitted really stalling quick development of housing that we need.
Oh, so he wants to actually be able to facilitate things faster.
Well, no, I
Not-
think he just wants to respond to that, so we don't have an ordinance that's in conflict with all of the new regulations that are coming forth.
Okay,
Okay. Any other questions?
Excuse me, I don't know if I can ask this, but
Certainly.
where is this development below the Arlington? Is this the Richmond Arlington or the other Arlington?
you know, the one where the old school was, I guess there's gonna be a big development by the dog park, right? That, you know, that new development that's gonna go in there. Oops, is there a name for it, John?
It's like cross streets nearby?
Well, it's just below the Arlington near the dog park, north of the dog park, right?
The dog park behind the school?
There it is.
So they're gonna develop that?
It's gonna be pretty dense,
I
Building.
don't know what the details are.
I don't know, I wasn't sure if they were putting off the view ordinance thing because they want to incorporate that situation. I'd like the view ordinance as soon as possible.
Was it with the school or was it on the fault with the school? Why? I thought there was something with the school about why it was too expensive to.
That's a different thing. That is the site right here, because that is on the fault line.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's that one. I don't know about that a lot. I don't know if it's on fault line or not. But the fault line is this site right here, just behind
Yeah.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a debacle over here.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, we'll move on to regional historical presentation, and we are missing Fran tonight. I'm not sure why, so we will put that off until.
No, I think he's gonna present from wherever he is what I understood.
Yeah, well, he hasn't logged in, so,
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
I just emailed with him, and I know he's planning on, let me see, I will email him, and
I texted with him also, and he said he was planning on doing it.
Yeah.
Telling me was my reason for coming.
Thank you for the only.
I was gonna say to my neighbors and say, if anything, chime in for the historical part.
Okay. Item 8, agenda items, speakers for upcoming meetings. Does anyone have anything they want to offer at this time? Okay. Our next agenda item is public comment on any item that was not on the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak during public comment?
Well,
Okay, there you go.
Yes, Eleanor. Oh, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
There has to be a universal signal for that, you know?
Okay.
That's so true. Thank you. I'm just pulling up notes so that I could speak quickly. I had a really brief comment because I couldn't figure out how to get the hand raised on Michelle's presentation. I read an LA Times article within the last 3 weeks on a public meeting down there about the state fire guidelines, reporting on outrage basically about the elimination of hydrated plants near home, with people in the audience presenting research showing that hardening homes was a much better way of protecting houses than taking away all the plants. And the impression I got from the article is that that was yet another such meeting leading to the delay that Michelle mentioned in the final guidelines being completed. So I just thought I'd comment on that. But my main comment was in September, you all kindly had a presentation from the East Bay Regional Parks District about the proposed mountain bike downhill flow trail in Wildcat. And for those who don't remember, this is a specially designed trail using the current Mesu Trail. That trail runs from the Nimitz at the top down over a mile downhill to where it meets the main trail on the Alvarado side, called the Wildcat Creek Trail. And the Mesu Trail is 2 miles in from the Alvarado parking lot to the east and over halfway to Tilden. So I have some quick updates. Last week, the El Sobrante map got the same presentation from the Park District that they had given to us. And as was true with our MAC, there were public comments from supporters and from opponents concerned about disruption to the area, which to the trail area itself, since it's designated as a natural resources area by the park, and also about the increased number of bikes that would be expected on the trails when the bikes get to the top of Mesu Trail, and then how they leave once they're at the bottom. In addition to that presentation, last night was a regular Park District Board meeting, and they heard a staff presentation on the 2026 proposed budget and on their separate projects budget for the next 5 years. And both board members and the public commented on the Mesu proposed trail. For those who are interested, of course, the video of this MAC September meeting with the parks presentation is online. Thank you, Ronnie. And last week's El Sobrante MAC meeting, I believe, is also online. Ronnie maybe knows if it is yet or will be, for people who want to see the Park District presentation and the discussion. The Park District meeting itself last night was also recorded and is already up. And if the chat is open, I'll put the link to it in the chat as soon as I finish talking. And then the Park Board's going to hold another regular meeting on December 2nd at 6 p.m. for public comment just on next year's budget. And all their meetings are accessible by Zoom. Staff said that the proposed Mesu Bike Trail isn't in that budget because it hasn't yet been voted on by the board, but the budget does include a whole lot of interest to park visitors, including to people who just go to Wildcat. For example, there were comments about that from the public, noting that less than 2.5% of the whole Park District budget is designated for stewardship of natural and cultural resources. And the proposed budget is also on the Park District's website as an attachment to yesterday's meeting packet. And that's it. And Ronnie, can I put something in the chat, or should I send it to you?
You should have access to do that.
I'm not, oh, that's because I'm looking at captions. Chat. I'm not seeing the chat when I click on it.
It should be there on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm clicking on chat. And it's, oh, there it comes. Okay, great. So I'll put that in with all those links. Thank you, folks.
All right, thank you, Eleanor. In what you had seen more recently, there was nothing, any update on the environmental impact report, right, for the trail?
No, they're still waiting for the company that they gave a contract to last month to come forward with, I think, a design, and then there will be a 30-day comment period on what they're thinking of doing in the study. Did that make sense?
Okay, yes. Laura?
Yeah, I was CC'd on a letter that I'm going to read that's from the Friends of Wildcat Canyon Park. And this was to all of the board, all of the East Bay Park Board that met last night, the East Bay Regional Park District Board. And it's short. It says, Dear President Mercurio and Directors Kofi, Eccles, Espana, Deschambal, San Wong, and Westby. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing them. The project funding update that was presented at the board study session on October 3rd, 2025, included a spreadsheet on page 57 entitled Draft 2026 to 2030 Capital Improvement Plan. The spreadsheet lists the item Wildcat Canyon / Alvarado Construct Wildcat Bike Trail. The itemized budget for the project is $1 million. This item was not altered by the alternative capital improvement plan updates presented on pages 128 to 138 of your packet, so it remains in the budget. If the board approves this allocation, it will be approving this controversial and environmentally damaging project. Such an approval would be contrary to the statements made by EPRPD staff at the public meetings of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Committee on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. At that meeting, both Max Corton and Sean Dugan stated that the project was undergoing environmental review, but that the project itself had not been approved by the board. They stressed that the EIR review was to obtain public input on whether the project should be approved. While this board has approved going forward with the EIR for the proposal Wildcat Bike Trail, the board has been clear that such action does not mean approval of the project. Indeed, if that were the case, then the Park District would be illegally approving the project prior to the required environmental review. Therefore, we ask that this $1 million allocation, Construct Wildcat Bike Trail, be removed from the budget. In addition, we request that the board and staff identify the specific source of the anticipated $1 million. Is this the $1 million donation that is conditioned on approval of trail construction at the specific named location, as well as on the certification of the EIR, regardless of the environmental impacts of the proposed project? If not from that conditional donation, where's the $1 million coming from? So I was CC'd on that. So as an FYI, it's kind of interesting.
Okay, Eleanor.
I was at that meeting and the staff noted that, well, one of the board members had the same confusion as the Friends of Wildcat?
Yeah.
Because it was really unclear. The 5-year future project budget was included in the board's item as if it were part of the budget, but it was actually given to the board for their information. And because they have not yet voted on the trail amount is in that 5-year plan, but not in the proposed budget. Was that distinction clear? There was a considerable discussion among the board and staff about that last night. So in theory, the budget itself doesn't include that $1 million, but that $1 million is accounted for among all the projects that the board is considering for the next 5 years.
Okay.
That's the best I can do.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. And thanks, Bara, for your feedback on that too.
I wasn't at I was at the meeting yesterday for about 15 minutes on Zoom.
It was
Okay.
very long, very long.
I do see Fran has joined us.
Yes, I'm here. I was
Oh,
surprised. I was
I was
given
about to
another
adjourn,
hour
but
at
we
least.
we're hanging on here for you.
Michelle's are having it.
Oh, Michelle?
Ronnie,
Fran,
Ronnie-
just a minute. Michelle, go ahead.
Ronnie, is it okay for me to respond to Eleanor's comment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just for further reiteration, so Zone 0 and home hardening regulations, the State Board of Forestry continues to hold committee meetings on the subject. The timeline and next steps, as outlined in the November meeting, was the committee was discussing the final language and preparing to present to the full board on the contents of the rule plead. In December, the board begins the formal rulemaking process, and we do not expect an update until the first quarter of 2026. So just to reiterate, that's the information that I have, and as soon as I have the next meeting date. If I receive that before this meeting, the next January 21st meeting, I'll be happy to report on that then.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, anybody else have anything? But Brian, we're waiting for you. Let's go.
Can you hear? How's my audio?
Good.
Good.
Is it good? Do you have a copy of the presentation, Ronnie?
I do.
Okay. So sorry, I thought it'd be a lot longer before I got on board, so. But it worked out, I hope. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No worries. You got in just before we adjourned?
So a short one tonight.
Yes.
Okay. So just want to, okay, so let me go through it, try to get through this quick enough for you, but make sure it's interesting. So my name's Fran Capoletti, resident of East Richmond Heights, as you all know, but for the audience, should know I have a strong interest in history, particularly local. While we certainly aren't as famous as some parts of the Bay Area, I still think we have interesting stories of people and places here. One place I wondered about was a neighborhood commonly referred to as Hasford Heights. With a little bit of research, I thought I figured it out and told you so at an older meeting. But further research led to some contradictions and mysteries. Tonight, I'd like to share what I found, more or less. So let's go to slide 2. Were you able to advance? There we are. So going to the websites of the El Sobrante MAC online that was there, and for those that don't know, it's a municipal advisory council, a type of organization to represent unincorporated communities in Contra Costa County. And El Sobrante is for a number of miles in separate pieces, with parts of Richmond and San Pablo in the gaps. If you look at that green area, it really stretch out quite a ways. Let's go to the next slide. Let's see. Sorry, I don't have the navigation.
We're not seeing slides on the Zoom.
Oh, I'm on Zoom and I see them.
Eleanor, you may have to
Let's make sure everyone can see it.
The screen,
The view?
yeah, the view on your end. Is this the slide that you're wanting to present next, Brian?
Was there? Yeah, I think that's slide 4. I mean, I was one slide before that.
Okay, so here's 3.
Let's see if there's a 3. So a few years ago, at least it seems like years ago, go back to, I can just stick with this one. I point the area at that little shape on the far left that's still green. That little part became kind of part of us now, as the MAC. So you've still got El Sobrante in all its glory stretched out, but we took this little piece on as our neighbors, sharing only a gap between us representing Alvarado Park. So in many ways, we have more in common. So if we can go to the next slide. So just zooming in a bit, you can see quite an odd shape. I mean, on the lower part, our own historic East Richmond Heights stretches on along the canyon, in some ways into the canyon. But this new part has a really strange shape, kind of like, I think of Pac-Man, sort of. But what's going on? Why is it called what it is? I was always curious about that. How do we make it kind of its own entity? Okay, if we can go to the next.
Did we just get photos?
I don't know.
Yes. I'm going to.
And I don't expect us to read this whole thing. I'm gonna overwhelm you. But what this slide shows is when I did a search on Google using their AI functions, it gave me a couple different answers about what this neighborhood was. First of all, it's calling it an unincorporated area, which is what we kind of thought to call it. But it just has different aspects, talking about its quiet streets. And after attending enough of these meetings, I wondered just how quiet some of them are. But it really didn't tell me the history or origin of Ashford Heights. If we can go to number 6. I did start numbering slides. I used to not do that.
We're on 6 now.
Yep. So we see a map from Google. You search, it says Ashford Heights, but it was kind of odd that it's kind of on the end. And Joanne from the board kind of was remarking that seems odd and strange, and had me look a little deeper. But I started looking at more maps. So if we go to the next slide, number 7. I happen to be by San Pablo City Hall, and they have a nice kiosk in front showing a map of their fine town, but it covers more than just the town. And I noticed their map has that same area, but Ashford Heights centers on all of it, which is kind of what I had always heard people say, although I understand there's a lot of different perspectives. Not everyone has the same opinion of what's called and where. So go one more slide. So circling just what I was referring to. So yeah, it's a nice map to see, but it just led me to more questions. So here we come to the next part. Where is it really? Well, I finally found a way to get on newspapers.com, the old Richmond Independent. And it's a great newspaper. It's nice to know Richmond used to have, I think, as good as the Chronicle or Examiner in its day. And it took me back to 1963, where it seems there was a young man named Gene Hosford, an associate planner for the city, and he was working through a project for a new development up in the hills. Perhaps they needed some humor through all the planning, but what started as an inside joke actually became a title on an official document. And here's the thing, this part of Richmond that they took over was called Hosford Heights, not Hasford. If we go to the next slide. So this took me down to Ventura County and their newspaper, and I obviously found a picture of Gene Hosford, as he soon had left Richmond to become the head planner down in Oxnard. And again, it just tells the story again of how he actually was, I think, giving the developer a hard time. And so the developer kind of sort of as an honor named the subdivision after him. So I found it interesting to still see the name to a place. So if I go to the next page, slide, I think. So at the Esperanto Library, they had an old planning document that shows a map. So I understand this is kind of handmade and hard to read, but these number 27 and number 5 and number 21, these are annexations where the city of Richmond took unincorporated areas and brought it into its fold. Number 5 was actually when they obtained Alvarado Park. Before it became East Bay Parks, it was a City of Richmond Park once they brought it into the limits. But that left us a lot of us still on the outside. And you have these really tiny pieces getting added in our area. And up here at number 27 from 63, that little piece taken out of that area is what really was Hosford Heights. A very small, I think about 60 some lots, more or less, was taken on. If we can go to the next slide, I was going to put in a better view, Joanne, while I was working with her, but I'll just show you what I have to get a little clearer picture. And I will recommend any of you that want to know if you live up there where the city starts and ends, the Contra Costa County Assessor map feature gives a really good idea of where the city starts and ends. And you might find that your backyard borders on the city of Richmond if you didn't already know that. So it's just this little sliver kind of part piece taken out. And if we can go to the next slide. I pulled a letter to the editor from, again, the Richmond Independent in the early days of Hosford Heights, where neighbors, people who lived there were already talking about the taxes they paid for few services, streets and lack of playgrounds, and so on and so forth. But the interesting response to her letter was kind of like, well, a lot of the city officials don't even know where you are. And I feel like in many ways, many people that I talked to didn't quite know about the neighborhood or didn't know enough about it. So the more times changed, I think some things do stay the same without complaining too much about government services. But at least we have a forum in these meetings to talk about what concerns us. So next slide.
The original contractor went bankrupt, I just saw.
Yeah. So I was actually working in the El Cerrito archive and I found an old booklet, the Richmond General Plan Revision from 1967. And within that document, I did find another name for the area, and this called Jennings Terrace. And this name actually does go back to the early 1900s for part of this area when they had all kinds of subdivisions with all kinds of names, including people who called this North Richmond before we have another North Richmond. In fact, I think there were 2 North Richmonds at the same time. So it's quite a time of change. But perhaps Jennings Terrace, at least that has some historic reference and it's spelled correctly. But I'm not here to tell our neighbors what to call themselves. I'll leave that decision to others. Next slide, please. This does remind me of another issue that if you try to say how many people live here and there and in different places, the census does collect data at a regular basis to describe it. And you see on the left, the neighborhood I'm talking about north of Alvarado Park. You kind of see that little gray area coming inside. And then you see the East Richmond Heights on the right. Let's go to the next slide. The nice thing about it is that kind of gives us a way to look at, before we brought in this new neighborhood, for years, we've have a way of knowing, well, how many people live in East Richmond Heights? What kind of incomes, what kind of education, employment, and so on. So that's been a nice feature. But if I go to the next slide, officially speaking, the census designated place for the area that we called Hosford Heights, that's still very much considered El Sobrante. which we can get a total population and statistics, but I still am not sure how many people live in the area that we absorbed. So it's an interesting question that anytime you look at the data, you got to remember there's a wider area and you can't get down to as much detail as I might want. So I had some discussions with Joanne about this, just to say, wouldn't it be nice if at some point this place could be tabulated to know exactly who's in which area, and that means we're not overcounting El Sobrante or undercounting this. But as you might guess, working with the federal government takes time and energy, and I'm not sure, how much importance that has. But it would be good to know just how many people are there. And on the other hand, if we did absorb as East Richmond Heights, what would that mean? But it's certainly, I'm guessing, a few thousand people at least, and I would value that information. So the next slide. So the way I find out a lot of this is really looking at the maps we have on our own sites, checking with local historical societies, and El Sobrante has a great one. They have several expert volunteers that would put larger cities to shame, I think. And then El Cerrito Historical Society is another neighborhood that has a lot of information on our places. Contra Costa Library, your El Sobrante branch, to me, that's really my home branch. They have some great local resources. Newspapers.com. I mean, I really miss having a local newspaper that covers local stories. And it's really evident how much is there. And then the US Census Bureau still has data. Even during the shutdown, I was able to get it. But I think, Bar, I noticed your comment. I think that is a thing I shouldn't miss, that now we have social media and independent local websites that are taking up that slack. For example, when we had the meeting for the bike trail, that story was covered, whereas a big city newspaper across the bay might not be covering that. So good point. So I hope this presentation went well. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I appreciate Ronnie you helping me get through those slides. I guess I should ask if there's any questions.
Let me say first, and then Jinwei has a question. It's really interesting what you've uncovered, because you've opened another Pandora's box. And the little piece went by that said the original developer went bankrupt. I'll bet you can find more, and that's actually tied in after they built those homes up there that branch off of Upper Bonita. Because after they were built, they were all put in at the same time. Then we had heavy flooding and the road buckled and the houses, some of them were condemned. I think I was a teenager at the time, but I don't know what year, but anyway, I noticed that, and I have a feeling that's what it is. He went bankrupt after they went to all the trouble to grade and put in the roads up there, build those houses, and then they started falling down. Yeah, Jinwei.
Oh, I just have a question. I mean, this is so interesting. When I moved here, I found out there's like a pocket of an area which is unincorporated, which does not belong to any city. Is there any point in time in the history, like the city around it want to get part of the incorporated area? Like, did Sao Paulo try to get us on Bronte, or did Richmond try to get us, or did that ever happen in the history? I heard before I moved here, there was some attempt.
I think in the 50s there's a plot that shows where Richmond, they had their eyes on us. And at one point El Cerrito did, and then Richmond got annoyed that El Cerrito was daring to take an area they wanted. But in the end, they also do a calculus to say, well, we're going to get taxes from them, but we have to give benefits at the same time. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I know a few years back we had a chance to vote to join El Cerrito, but it did not pass. And I think that's emblematic of some of the independence up here. Just my opinion.
I'll say my
But
comments.
yeah, there's been different efforts over the years. And there's another section that's incorporated off Bernhard that I could do another talk just about that, because there's a whole story there about why that happened too. Because it's these little pockets that are surrounded by county and yet they're part of a city.
Yeah, we have Joanne first, then Eleanor. Joanne, you're on mute.
I drove up to that street and there are a number of houses you can tell are part of a development. I mean, they've had minor changes to them, but the bones are there that they're exactly the same. So there are about 4 or 5 or 6 of them on that street that look like they were part of this Hosford development.
Yeah,
I also
Joanne, I did it too. Do you notice like they had a all over the front door and these similar window patterns and chimney placements?
So they're there. The other thing is, after Fran and I talked, I did write to Will Nelson because I wanted to better understand the relationship between our MAC boundaries and the census tracts. And Will said that they're completely unrelated. And he actually sent my question to the Contra Costa County demographer, and the demographer wrote back that they have an opportunity every 10 years to update the census designated places. And the Census Bureau takes some of their suggestions, but not all. And they said they've worked over the past 2 decades to better align the unincorporated areas with the census geographic areas, but it's not perfect. And she also said sometimes the Bureau decides either a boundary is too hard to follow or it doesn't meet other criteria that needs to be met. And he said he was going to save this comment about the El Sobrante, which is now East Richmond Heights, being in the El Sobrante census data tract or whatever designated places, for their comments when they do it. The next update will be underway in 2028 or 2029.
And if I could address that, I sort of agree with Will. Census tracts are not the same as CDPs because, yeah, the census tract crosses zip codes and other things like that. So they are different, but the CDP is something. And again, it hasn't been that long that we've incorporated this. That's not, maybe El Sobrante will miss you too much and want you back.
Well, we'll refer to our MAC boundaries as county administrative boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not really the biggest problem to have, but it was fun to talk to you, Joanne, and to get your input and the legwork you did to see what's involved in it.
So at least we're on their radar at the county.
Okay, let's go to
Eleanor. And as I said, the government moves slowly.
All right, Fran, we're going to go to Eleanor and then Liz will be after that. Go ahead, Eleanor.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm so thrilled that we have Fran because I love those histories, and we are beginning to have a local paper in Richmond side, and I would bet that they would love a monthly, quarterly, whatever you'd like feature from you. I think you'd have instant publication of these things, and you'd probably encourage other people to put them in for other areas.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact, and again, I know we talk out to the sheriff and we talk to the CHP, and that's all very important, but I hope you do, enjoy these little pieces of history.
Yeah, very much. Okay.
And these reporters, good.
Okay, let's go to Liz up in Austin.
I was wondering, when you guys were talking about the development and the street specifically, what street was it that has like the similar windows?
I think Jerryland, right off Bonita. And there's like 3 streets. I'd have to look at my map. I'm in the car.
And what era do you think those were built? What was the...
Well, the earliest I think would be early 60s. but I think there were several in the 70s because as John was saying, there was some bankruptcy and then things slowed down and I think they had to rebuild some.
So the Hosford guy was building in the 60s and 70s.
Well, he was just a city planning department employee.
Oh, he was but so the guy,
Like
yeah, so he was
reviewing the
around in the
plans and
60s.
stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But that was the era of his existence was like 60s and 70s.
All involved.
Yeah,
I'd love to
it
hear.
it was, I want to say around the time I got out of high school that the streets started buckling too. That's why the streets are bumpy the way they are. And some of those houses were condemned up there that branch off to the left side of Bonita to go up there where the canyon is, just on the other side. Oh.
I mean, I'd love to look at those maps where it's clear someone intended these to keep going, and yet they didn't. And just same thing, they wanted to develop Wildcat Canyon and gave up because of I think the slides and the faults and all that.
When did the slides happen? Like those houses, when did they get condemned?
That was probably, gosh, I know we could probably find it in news media going back to the Richmond Independent. I want to say probably 1970s, 71, 72, in that time. They had already been built, the streets were beautiful, you know, they were all laid out. And as you drive up there now, you can see they've been redone, but you know, there's big bumps you drive over to get up there. And there were houses you couldn't live in. Those people they lost their homes. Because
what street was that?
the top street, what's the street at the very top that you turn left off Bonita? The one that dead ends way up there by the water tower or something? That street and then the one right down below it, they had the most damage up there. So Fran,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm sure there's got to be news articles about the damage that was caused from those rainstorms. And then it seemed, you know, everything was pretty normal, but it wasn't terribly long ago that they had those other slides down there off the Hillcrest above Rayleigh's.
Yeah.
You know, and they went in there and they relayed the ground, you know, to try to prevent anything like that happening. I guess, you know, it's all caused by drainage, right?
I have a girlfriend who lived right there and I saw a lot of the slipping in the back.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I'll try to be there in person next time.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran.
That was great. Okay, anything for the good of the order tonight? Shall we adjourn? We need a motion.
So, when's our next meeting?
January 21st. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Great to see you all again, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.